Hello Criterion Collectors, we have some brand new announcements to talk about, the releases for November 2024, which is a special time for Criterion Collectors because it coincides with the Barnes & Noble 50% off sale. Now just the other day we did have the surprise announcement of the CC40 box set, and I've made a video covering that release, so if you want to hear all my thoughts on that, do go and check that out on the channel. But I thought because of that surprise announcement, we might be getting a lighter month in terms of announcements for November. However, I couldn't have been more wrong because we got 6 other things to talk about here. So without further ado, let's get straight into the first one. I'm going to start with the big one that we all knew was coming, Seven Samurai getting a 4K release. This is spy number 2 in the Criterion Collection. So this is a huge title for fans of the Criterion Collection. I'm sure pretty much everyone has the Blu-ray box set that came out in 2010. This has been an absolute mainstay in many people's collections for the past decade and a bit. Now I'm sure you don't need me to tell you about this film and why it is so good, but if you are completely new to this, I'll give you a brief description. The story follows this group of hired warriors in 16th century Japan who are tasked with protecting this village from some bandits who are going to come and raid and try and steal everything and just cause complete destruction and mayhem. And across the 3-hour plus runtime of the film, we see all of these different characters interacting and preparing for the oncoming attack. And we've seen the story be remade so many times in cinema after the release of Seven Samurai. It's been hugely influential. Films like Magnificent Seven, of course, Takashi Miike's 13 Assassins, and even A Bug's Life from Pixar. These are all films drawing on the inspiration from Seven Samurai. And that's not even talking about Kurosawa's masterful direction in this film. Hugely influential to all sorts of different filmmakers. I'm sure many of your favourite filmmakers were inspired by this film. And I know I've often said on this channel that I much prefer Kurosawa's later period where he was working in colour, and in his final years as a filmmaker he was kind of collecting and summarising his ideas and what filmmaking means to him in films like Dreams and Ran. But nevertheless, I do love Seven Samurai and I think it is an exceptional film. So this 4K upgrade from Criterion is going to be releasing on November 12th. It is going to be a higher price point than usual at $60 for a 4K disc. That's because it's going to be a 3-disc set. You get the 4K disc and then the 2 Blu-rays which are part of this existing Blu-ray set. The packaging will be exactly the same, of course. All of the special features will be carried over and there is nothing new in terms of special features. I know I'm a broken record saying that every month about these announcements when we get a 4K upgrade. Criterion's website says it's a 4K digital restoration. There's no mention of HDR here, so it could be a 4K disc without any HDR. We'll have to see when it eventually comes out. I don't believe Criterion have done this restoration themselves. I think it is the 4K restoration that was done in Japan, and I think it's the same one that is being provided to BFI for their UK 4K release that is coming in October. Now personally, I'm not going to be buying the Criterion 4K 7 Samurai. I am going to be getting the BFI disc, and there's a few different reasons. First of all, it will be cheaper for me to get because it is a UK release and therefore I don't have to import it. Also because if I get the Criterion version, I'm getting no new special features, whereas on the BFI disc there are special features that are not on the Criterion Blu-ray and the 4K, such as a new audio commentary with Adrian Martin, and there's a feature with Tony Raines talking about Kurosawa and Seven Samurai, and there'll be a different booklet in that as well. So I'm going to have the BFI 4K and Criterion's Blu-ray, and together I'm having the best of both worlds there. I imagine both different 4K releases will look pretty much exactly the same, but it's worth noting that the BFI disc will likely have a better encode and will be authored better, so there's less chance of any nasty digital artifacts in the image or anything like that. So that's Seven Samurai coming to 4K from Criterion in November. I am sure many people are excited for this. I'm excited for it, even though I'm not getting the Criterion. I'm going to get that BFI disc, but still a great celebration of this film, and I really hope the results are good, and I'm expecting them to be. So Yeah, an exciting time for fans of cinema. Next, we have something very exciting coming to the Criterion Collection for the first time. It's the film Paper Moon, directed by Peter Bogdanovich, starring Ryan O'Neal and his daughter Tatum O'Neal. This is a fantastic film, one of my favourites. I've loved it ever since I got the Masters of Cinema Blu-ray about 10 years ago, and I fell absolutely in love with the film. It's a great story following this con man who is working in the Depression era, going around America conning people, and he meets this orphan girl and he's tasked with delivering her to her auntie in Missouri. It's a great kind of road movie, and it's a great kind of father-daughter movie, not because the characters are necessarily related, but because, you know, in real life it's a father and daughter acting couple, and it's a film that I find so beautiful to look at. It's funny, it's touching with some great performances. There's honestly not a lot wrong with this film at all, and I highly recommend people checking this one out when Criterion release this in November. So it's coming on a 4K disc with Dolby Vision HDR, and there's a whole host of special features here, including an audio commentary with Peter Bogdanovich, some making of behind the scenes things here, and there is a new video essay as well. And in fact, all of the special features that were on this Masters of Cinema Blu-ray from about 10 years ago are all on this Criterion 4K disc. So unless you are particularly fond of the booklet that's in this, everything is going to be on the Criterion disc, and it's probably not going to be worth keeping this old one around, but we'll see. I truly am excited about Paper Moon because it features Ryan O'Neal, who is a great actor who I admire a lot, and I think he is much better than a lot of people give him credit for. Tatum O'Neal is also brilliant in this, and she won the Oscar for her performance in this film. Actually, she was the youngest Oscar winner ever when she won this Oscar, and I think she still might be the youngest winner as well. Plus, Peter Bogdanovich was a great filmmaker, and not just a great filmmaker, but a great kind of film historian. He had some great relationships with Orson Welles, John Ford, etc. So he was a guy who knew a lot about cinema, and he was able to channel that into his own films. So I'm very excited for Paper Moon coming to 4K, and I really do recommend checking this one out, especially during the sale, getting it half price. It is well worth it. Then we have a surprise, but a welcome one. It's Scarface on 4K, the original Howard Hawks gangster movie. This was not one I was expecting, but I think it's a superb film and a very important film in the genre of gangster movies. Without this film and without Howard Hawks, we probably wouldn't have gotten the likes of modern gangster films such as Goodfellas, and this film really did set the track for all of those gangster crime movies, and it's just a real milestone in American cinema. I currently have the film on this Universal disc that was released in the UK as part of HMV's Premium Collection line, and I'm expecting good things from this because it's a new 4K digital restoration. If it looks anything like, for example, the Roaring Twenties, which Criterion released on 4K not too long ago, and that was a 30s film in black and white, and that looked beautiful on 4K. So if we get results like the Roaring Twenties in this release, I will be very happy. There are just a few special features on here, but there's a new conversation between the author Megan Abbott and the actor Bill Hader, which I'm interested in listening to. And I should mention Howard Hawks. If you're not familiar with Howard Hawks, he has a number of films within the Criterion Collection already, and he's often considered one of the greatest filmmakers ever. And I have to agree with that because he worked in so many different styles of filmmaking, different genres. So he worked in the gangster genre with films like Scarface. He worked in the screwball comedy genre and kind of made that a big thing through films like His Girl Friday. He would go on to work in westerns, and he made all sorts of different films. So he's a hugely influential filmmaker, one of the best, and a lot of filmmakers cite him as huge inspiration for them. Notably, John Carpenter really loves Howard Hawks. When he was asked about his top 10 favourite films for the Sight and Sound poll just a few years ago, I think he listed like 4 Howard Hawks films in his top 10. Another welcome surprise was the announcement of the 4K release of Funny Girl, the William Wyler movie starring Omar Sharif and Barbara Streisand. It's a wonderful musical film which has so much humour in it. It's beautiful to look at, great performances from the actors and all of the performers in the film. And I love the film, and I'm so glad that it's coming to the Criterion Collection. William Wyler, the director, is another one of those figures, like Howard Hawks, who is one of the greatest filmmakers that has ever lived and made so many great films. He has at least one in the collection, The Heiress. I can't remember off the top of my head if there are any more in the collection. But he's another director who was quite varied in what he did, and he had a career where he produced so many great films. So it's a 4K UHD with Dolby Vision HDR, and there are a number of great special features, including a new audio interview with Barbara Streisand and a new conversation between William Wyler's son David and author Alicia Malone. And it's got the documentary directed by William Wyler, which is a documentary all about his life and career. There's even more than that, so this is going to be a stacked release, one I cannot wait to get when it comes out in November. The fifth 4K to talk about, and I still cannot believe we're getting that many in 1 month. It's Godzilla, the 1954 original from Ishiro Honda. This is obviously such an influential film that would spawn so many Godzilla films after this one. Hopefully you don't need me to describe to you what Godzilla is and what it's all about, so I'm not even going to bother. But it's great that we're getting a 4K upgrade, and it makes business sense because Godzilla is a hot commodity, and this one will, I'm sure, sell a lot of units. We're getting this 4K restoration on a 4K disc, and all of the Blu-ray special features will be the same as the previous release from Criterion, also the one that was included in the big Godzilla set, which I have on the wall over there. The Criterion website page doesn't list HDR on the disc, so it is just a 4K presentation in SDR, unless they change it before the release. So it will be interesting to see how this compares to the other versions of the film that we have on disc. I'm not sure this is one I'm going to be getting on release in November because, well, it's going to be an expensive time for me because there's going to be a lot of stuff to get. But it's one that I will certainly get eventually because I think it's a great film, an important film. And yeah, if it has the 4K treatment and it looks and sounds good, then I will want to own it. Then we come to another surprise. It's The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro's film from a few years ago now, which won the Best Picture, which I was quite surprised at that year. I did enjoy the film a lot actually, but I didn't think it was going to win over some of the other films that were up for Best Picture that year. But nevertheless, it's a film that has, you know, a lot of merit to it. I think it's a great film, and one that I'm excited to rewatch. I do know that it already has a 4K release out there on the market, which is readily available. So its inclusion here in the Criterion Collection probably isn't going to be a big deal for a lot of people. Many people will already have those existing 4K discs and therefore might not see much need to get the new Criterion edition. It is of course great to see another Del Toro film in the collection though, because there's quite a number of his films in the collection. And I really enjoyed this one here, his Pinocchio film on 4K. This looked superb and it is a wonderful film. Guillermo del Toro is a filmmaker who I have quite a lot of admiration for, but even more than his own filmmaking, I love hearing him talk about other filmmakers and films that he loves, because he's just one of those people that can talk about cinema in such a good way, you know, far better than I could ever express my own opinions on cinema. He's so eloquent and he has so much experience watching films and of course making films. So I always love hearing him talk about films. And look, that's not me putting down his filmmaking skills because he makes great films as well. There is a new conversation between Del Toro and David Lowery, which I'm interested in listening to. And then it appears that all of the other special features on this release are existing features from the other discs or perhaps ones that are on the internet. So again, this is probably not one I'm going to get bang on release, but I think later down the line it's one that I will add to my collection because I don't have the film on 4K already, and I really like the artwork on this release as well. Well, what do you think? Is November 24 going to be one of the best Criterion months in history? Because we're getting these 6 4K releases, and there is the CC40 box set for the people who want that sort of thing. So there's a lot on offer in this particular month. And yeah, I think it's in the running for one of their best release months in a long time. And I know we say that a lot, that, oh, this is the best month, this is the best month. But it does appear here this is a very, very strong month. If you'd like to stick around on the channel and get some Criterion Collection recommendations from me, just click the video that's presented on screen right now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.